Standing in the middle of the road is this very, very tall, slender build, solid black figure staring right at us. I see it, Russ sees it. That's too tall to be a person. Even from that distance, you could tell that was way too tall to be a person.
You're listening to the Cryptid Crew Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Childers. Before we get started, if you've had an encounter or an experience or just something unexplained, click on our link tree in the description and share your encounter. Thank you for listening to the Cryptid Crew Podcast. On this episode of the Cryptid Crew Podcast, I have the privilege of introducing outdoorsman and Bigfoot enthusiast, Bryce Edwards. Bryce, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have talked once on the phone and some by email, but before we get started into some really interesting firsthand family stories you have, tell us and tell the listeners what got you interested in the world of Bigfoot.
Okay. I've always been into like Bigfoot and ghosts and aliens and all that stuff ever since I was a little kid. I blame my grandma. She was always into that stuff too, it seemed like. So she just kind of would tell me and my cousins stories. And then I found out one of them really happened, and it was about a Bigfoot. But yeah, she pretty much molded me in that fashion with all the cryptids and paranormal. Yeah, I would say when I really started getting into it, like it always interested me when I was young, but whenever I really started getting into it was probably whenever I would say Monster Quest and Mysteries and Monsters in America, shows like that, that were like on regularly where you could watch them. I mean, of course, if there was ever like a special about Bigfoot or something on TV, I was always watching that before. But once it started to kind of gain traction, I really started getting interested in it and paying attention to things and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Monster Quest was one of my favorites I think that came out in the early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah, very early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah. They had quite a bit of interesting episodes on that.
Funny thing about that, the documentary that me and my friend Joe have made about everything I'm going to tell you about on the farm, we actually got a guy that used to be on the Monster Quest show in it, Tony
Okay,
Gerard.
great.
I believe it's Gerard. It might be Gerard, but he lives in Southern Illinois also, and he's in our documentary. He was on, I think, 6 or 7 episodes of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Monster Quest came out, and I believe Monsters and Mysteries was another. And then later on, of course, Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then now Expedition Bigfoot is one of them as well.
They bring Ronnie back on that one. I liked him the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Ronnie. I do. I got to meet Biko Wright, which was on the show. I got to meet him last summer in Oregon at a Glide Sasquatch Festival.
Nice.
Neat guy. Really cool.
Yeah.
Really nice fellow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bryce, if you can, just tell us some of the stories, firsthand stories that your family has had, and then we'll just kind of dive into it that way, head first.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so first story was one my grandma told me whenever I was about 10 years old. This took place roughly in 1963. It was when my dad was 5 years old and my uncle was about 1. They were out in the front yard just enjoying the day. It was a summer day, and the farm, it's a 642-acre farm, and so big place. But across the road from Grandma and Grandpa's house, there was a field, and then you had a bunch of woods. And what she said was that she saw this, what she called a honey bear, come out of the woods, and it was on all fours whenever it came out of the woods, but then it stood up. And when it stood up, it saw them and started walking towards them on 2 legs the whole time. And she freaked out, grabbed my dad, grabbed my uncle, ran in the house, locked the doors, and hid in the closet until my grandpa got home from work that night. Now, whenever she told me that and I was 10 years old, I'm not thinking Bigfoot back then. I'm just thinking, okay, grandma saw a bear, except that there's never really been a bear population in Southern Illinois anyways. Occasionally we will have black bear like migrate through like on their way to Indiana or Kentucky. But as far as like a population that stays, no. And the only reason I even figured out that she was talking about Bigfoot was because I was listening to a podcast a few years ago and this old timer was on there and he was talking about his encounters and he called them honey bears. And as soon as he said that word, the light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, that explains why she reacted the way she did. Because even if it was a bear, would you go hide in a closet if you locked all the doors?
It would be definitely something different than a bear, something four-legged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did she, let me ask you this, Bryce, did she called it a honey bear, is that correct?
That's what she called it.
But do you think in your mind, do you think she was referring or she knew what she was looking at?
I do. Um, just because the way that even whenever she recounted it, and told me about it, just the look on her face, remembering it and everything, like it wasn't a bear. Now, as a kid, like I said, not really, I'm just, thinking like, okay, but like looking back on it now as an adult and everything and knowing all the different terms that have been used and all that stuff, I really feel like that is what she saw because just you could just see like her eyes would kind of widen a little bit because she told that story to me and my cousin probably 3 or 4 times. And like there'd even be times and it was kind of weird because like she would almost get teary eyed and, we'd be sitting there like, like, are you okay? And I mean,
Sure.
we just
Yeah.
had scared her that bad.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Was looking at something that either shouldn't exist or she was having trouble processing it. And then from then on, did she give much detail about the creature?
She just said that it was a light brown, um, and that it was big and that it had a really ugly face.
Okay.
And I mean, that was the description. I mean, that's
Right.
what she told us whenever we were 10.
Right.
And it just yeah, I mean, the one I saw was black. So, I don't yeah, that was also 60 years later. So I mean, it's, there's my guess just knowing that at least since 1963, if not further back, I just don't have any firsthand stories that, past that. Um, there has to be a family unit out there that's, lived out there for decades because that's just, to me, that's the only thing that makes sense because I don't think they migrate through. Only just because just this past November on the 23rd, I had an encounter, me and my wife did. And my dad said that in December, he's been hearing the whoops again. There for a
Oh,
little
really?
while, he didn't hear them, but I think that was mainly just because of like deer season, things like that. They just were kind of laying low for a while. But I mean, I think that they stay there year round.
Okay. So are you close? I think we had talked about this to the Shawnee
Yeah.
National Forest.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's about 25 miles away from the farm, maybe a little bit closer as the crow flies.
Okay. Yeah. That's a large national forest. I was
Mhm.
doing some research on it earlier and it's almost 300,000 acres.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reports out of there of Sasquatch.
Yes, tons of sightings and like you said, a lot of reports
Mhm.
come out of there. Let's kinda go back to what you had mentioned earlier about your sighting.
Yeah,
Can you tell us when that happened and or what led up to it
yeah.
and then the incident itself?
Sure. Okay, so the sighting happened in 2024, but what led up to that was in 2023. So in on a Mother's Day in 2023, the month of May is the big kickoff month, it seems like, for whenever they really start getting active out there. Um, I don't know why. But my wife wanted to go out to the farm looking for morels, and I was pretty sure it was past time for morels. But I asked my dad anyways if he knew where there'd be any, if there was. And he said, yeah, go over to Jerry's house, go behind there in those woods behind his place. Check them out over by the fallen trees. Okay. So we went there and we had to walk through his yard, go to the back where there's a more overgrown area, wade through all those tall weeds and everything. it was strange because I saw what at first I just assumed was like a deer bedding area, but what I found in the field makes me think it could have been an ambush spot because whenever you came out of the tall grass and all that, and I say tall grass, it was about, stomach high to maybe chest high in certain areas. And we had the kids with us, and my son, he was going, "Hey, Dad, there's footprints up here." Now, that field, it had been distant about probably within a week or two of us being there. So I went up there to look because I'm thinking, well, it's either dad, and that's why he said go back there, or maybe somebody's out here walking around that shouldn't be. And when I saw the prints, I immediately went back and got my tape measure out of my car because they were massive.
Oh,
So when I saw these footprints, I measured them. They were 18 by 5.5 inches wide and just big. And I mean, I wear a size 13. I put my foot next to it and took a picture, and it just dwarfed my foot. And I mean, it was incredible. And it was heading the same direction we were. It was cutting the corner of the field right there. And like if you go catty corner from that corner, there's a big pond over there too.
was there a game trail close by?
Deer out there all over the place, plus other, different just typical wood animals. So whenever we started walking, because like I said, we took pictures and stuff, then we started walking to go look for the morels. And about, I don't know, 30, 40 feet into the field, we come across a deer carcass, but it was just the skeleton. But it was unlike any deer kill I've ever seen in my life. Like it wasn't like it was a coyote kill or anything because, I've lived out there my whole life. Um, Anytime you come across one of those, bones are scattered everywhere. And with this, it was very strange. The bones were picked completely clean except for the front legs from the hoof to the first joint. There was still fur right there, but that was it. But there was a back half and there was a front half. It was like something got it and just ripped it in half because that's the way it looked. Now, I couldn't tell if the neck had been broken or not. I didn't really look that close because I was just like, this thing's been ripped in half. And I mean, it was insane. Like, just really weird. At the time, I'm thinking, I mean, of course, I'm thinking, can't rule out that, Bigfoot did it. But I'm also like, well, could this have been just a natural predator kill? And I really just with the stuff that's out there that we know about, I can't say that anything out there would do that. I mean, occasionally there'll be cougar out there, but I mean, they drag their stuff up in trees if I remember correctly. And this here, like I said, it just looked like something just that had hands just grabbed it and just like broke its back and just ripped it in half. And it was insane. But whenever we went ahead after we saw that, we went and got into the woods right there where those footprints were going and everything. There's, the opening. And right by this tree, there was a bunch of little sticks about maybe knee high, not very thick or anything, that were leaned up against the tree teepee style. And I found that kind of weird. And it didn't look like it was, just like, branches or whatever, twigs falling out of the tree from the wind or anything or blew up against it like that. It looked like it was placed there with purpose. So I was talking with a few people about that, and they said that, it could have been like either a territory marker, more than likely like a signal like, hey, there's food in here, because that would make sense about the deer carcass. And so, yeah, and that deer carcass is also why I said I think that one bedded down area, I think that may have been an ambush spot because with the way that the prints were going and everything too, it kind of all was in a line. Now,
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. I've talked about the tree structures or the stick structures before with some other people. Me personally, it seems like they're around game trails
uh
and could be some sort of marker for that. Let me ask you this though. Let me go back to the tracks. Did you find more than one track?
There's a whole set of them. Yeah, a whole set of them was going cutting that corner. I wanna say that I didn't measure the distance between them, but looking at it, I would say every bit of 4 feet in stride. Again, I'm just guessing, but
Yeah.
I would say that's about what it was, about 4 feet in stride.
Much more than a human.
Yeah, big time. And yeah, that was weird. Another firsthand encounter I have, but took place in that area, was in 2015. My dad and my cousin Jerry, they were over at Jerry's house in the front yard, just, shooting the breeze. And it was about dusk. And, you've got the birds chirping, insects making noise. Well, across from Jerry's house, there's this other field. And in the distance, there was a pack of coyotes starting to go off. Well, dad said that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just this big, loud, just reverberated through your chest roar came out of nowhere. Everything went dead silent when that happened. And like my dad and my cousin, those were guys that did not scare easy. And they were like, what was that? Like my cousin Jerry, he's passed away since then, but he he was like, according to my dad, he was like, okay, we need to go inside, kind of thing. Yeah, so that was weird, and my dad called me and told me, he's like, "I swear I heard a Bigfoot roar." And I mean, in 2015, I was not thinking Bigfoot in Southern Illinois. I wasn't even thinking Bigfoot in, like, the tri-state area. And, of course, now I know they're damn near everywhere. But, yeah, that was pretty wild because that was, as far as I know, that was his first encounter with anything Bigfoot related out there.
So it was something that he did not recognize the vocalizations to.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, he
and
said he felt it in his chest too whenever it did it.
yeah, I've heard that as well. That's I've had a recording on some family property here that same thing. The gentleman that recorded it, when I heard it, so guttural and so powerful.
Mhm,
Something with a large set of lungs. And then in your area, there's, I mean, bear are not going to make that sound. It's not going to be a mountain lion that would be recognizable. So, and then there's tons, going back to the game trail and you talking about them not migrating. There's tons of food source where you're at
mhm,
for something large like that to exist.
absolutely. Yeah, we've got deer. I mean, you name it, it's pretty well out there as far as game. There's a lot of turkeys out there too. And yeah, I mean, just on our farm alone, up until the coal mine came through and longwalled underneath it, we had 5 fully stocked ponds, and now we've only got 3 of them. But not just that, like, we're the only people who didn't sell to the coal mine 20 years ago. Everybody else out there, with the exception of like one family that I don't even know who they are, they just keep to themselves. But everybody else sold out. So all those properties got knocked down and it's just all grown into woods now. So for like a radius of, say, 4 miles at the most around the farm, there's maybe a handful of people, and that's more towards going towards the main road, which is about 4 miles away, like I said. Like, those are the closest neighbors, and then that one family there's, like, one corner of a field we don't own, and they own that corner. But,
Yeah. Well, it
yeah,
sounds
so, I
like a
mean,
lot of
it's
cover or
yeah, a lot of cover,
lot of area for something to
and, I
hide
mean,
out.
it can just chill and everything else, and yeah, so leading into my okay, so that was leading into my sighting. So my sighting happened in 2024, and that was 2 weeks before Mother's Day, so month of May still, but like right at the beginning. And my grandpa, he had dementia. He's since passed away. And my dad called me and he was like, "Hey, can you go pick up Grandpa and bring him out to the farm? Because Pop lived in town like I do." And so I said, sure, and took my youngest with me. He was 3 years old at the time. And we went and got grandpa and head out to the farm. So you're going down back roads and everything to get to the farm off the main road. And whenever you cross the creek, you've got the tree line following the creek on both sides of the road, open field to the left, open field to the right. So to my right, I catch movement out of my eye. And I look over and about 65 to 80 yards at the most into the field, right where the field starts to turn into a hill. So like right there at the bottom of a hill, this thing was digging into the hillside, and the arm grabbing and thrashing back like that, throwing the dirt was what caught my attention. So I'm looking, and I mean, like I said, I was driving. I had my grandpa with dementia, my 3-year-old with me, so it wasn't like I could stop and take video or pictures. I get hassled about that a lot from people, but so I'm looking at it. I mean, it was a good 5-second sighting, but this thing was, like I said, it was knelt down, digging into the hillside, heard my car, and it stood up. And when it stood up, it kept its front away from me, so I never got to see the face. But this creature was jet black, could have been wet from being in the creek, but it had this like kind of a shine to it because this was a broad daylight sighting. It was 3:15 in the afternoon, and it was about probably 65, 70 degrees out. This, like I said, this thing, it was just digging into the hillside for some reason. And so I see it, it starts walking further into the field. And if you go into that field, there's a small section of woods, and then there's another field behind that, and then there's a big section of woods that goes for about 2 miles. So my guess was it was heading for the what my dad calls 2-mile woods. And so I got grandpa up to dad's because that was literally just going up to the top of the hill. It's about a quarter mile from the top of the hill to the spot where I had my sighting. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, I saw something big out in the field. I'm going to hurry up and go back, see if I can't get a picture of it or something. He was just like, what? And I'm like, big. And he was just, I didn't want to say Bigfoot in front of grandpa, freak him out. Because he didn't see it, but he wasn't looking out that window either. He was just looking straight ahead. And then my 3-year-old, he was just chilling in his, car seat, so he couldn't see it. But yeah, it was pretty wild. I came back through, and of course, it was gone by that point. So I just went ahead and went home. Told my wife about it, and she told me, well, we're going back tomorrow, and you're going to go out there and see if you can't find tracks or see what it was digging, see if there's anything over there. Like, okay. Like, she's super supportive about this with me too. Like, she loves that those things are out there.
That's important.
Yeah, big time. The next day we go back. It rained that night, which aggravated me because it rains a bunch here in Southern Illinois in May. And yeah, it happened to that night. But it took me a little while, but I was able to find where it happened at, like where the creature was. And I mean, yeah, I was able to get pictures of the tracks and the dig area, but it was the tracks were kind of filled in a little bit just from the runoff because, like I said, it was right there at the bottom of the hill where it was digging in. So you had that coming down the hill. Um, but like the hole and everything, I could fit my hand in it. I mean, I've got a pretty big hand, and it was collapsed in, and my hand still fit. So I wonder how big that hole really was to begin with, because like the only thing I can think is that maybe it saw a groundhog and took off after it, and it tried to like burrow away or something. But I don't know because I didn't see, with the exception of, the footprints from the creature, I did not see like raccoon prints, gopher prints, anything like that. So I really have no idea what it was after in the in the hillside that was making it thrash back like that. So like whenever I'm taking these pictures, here's another thing to tell you how big this was. My wife said that me standing out there, I'm 5'10", me standing out there where it was, and I was taking pictures like above, she could barely see me. And then when I knelt down to take close-up pictures, she lost sight of me completely. Now, when I saw this creature, it was knelt down, and I was seeing probably what I would say was mid-thigh up. And then when it stood up, saw the rest of it. So I'm guessing every bit of 8 foot. I mean, yeah,
Sounds like a big, big creature.
eh,
That's awesome that you went back and did a comparison
yeah,
to
yeah.
get some type of detail.
And the weird thing about the build of this creature, though, it was so weird because like when I think Bigfoot, I'm thinking like Patty from the Patterson Gimlin film, and this was more leaner. It had the build of, I don't know if you've ever seen the Sam Elliott movie, The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot,
Oh,
but
yes, I had.
I recommend it. It's really good. And yeah, like the creature in that one, it had this like it was just leaner, more of like a V shape torso, kind of like a swimmer's build, still muscular, just not the big hulking figure like Patty is. And it was like I said, though, you could tell it was strong. And whenever I walked towards the creek, following like the footprints and everything that was in the mud, there was this big opening where you could tell something had been going in and out of there for a while. And I was hoping I could find like a big, deep, impression in the creek bank, but I didn't find one. But I did find up in a tree, about 10 feet up in a tree break where the branch, it was about, it looked to me, it looked like it was about 3 inches and around, and it was broke down, but then it was twisted around 2 or 3 times. And to me, that says intention, strength, and something with a hand.
Something with a thumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was crazy seeing that.
Did you get any kind of length on the stride
Um,
between the tracks?
Paid attention to that. I just saw the footprints and I was trying to like figure out where it came from.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot to take in. How long was it between the time that you saw the creature and the time you went back and did a comparison?
oh, it was just the next day. Yeah, yeah, it was just the next day. Yeah, we went that morning. It was probably about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. And like I said, it was 3:15. So I remember I looked at my clock on my radio here in the car. And so, yeah, you know, 12 hours, or well, more than 12,
Right.
but less than 24. I'm from Southern Illinois, people.
Bryce, let me ask you this: what do you think? What do you think a Bigfoot is? Do you think it's? Are you in the camp of flesh and blood, or the woo factor, where it's something else?
Well, for me, I used to be flesh and blood in the beginning, but just the more things that I have heard about, read about, seen videos of that wasn't I lean more towards what I like to call the happy middle of the woo and flesh and blood, because what I think is like how with us humans, you've got some people that have special abilities like psychics, people who have like what they call the sight or whatever when it comes to like ghost hunting and things like that. I think that Bigfoot has something similar to that, but it's like abilities to where they can cloak, I don't know if they're like going through portals into other dimensions, or if they just have a sense of how like Earth's natural portals work to get out of an area. I know that sounds weird, but like I don't know. I went down a portal rabbit hole not long ago.
Yeah, that's easy to do. I think they have the ability to. I'm not sure if cloaking is the right word, but like a reptile, camouflage.
Yeah.
Some reptiles, I guess you could say, are amphibians because there's evidence out there, but then there's also lack of evidence as well. And somebody that's a skeptic would say, hey, why hasn't one been brought forward? And I guess that's until there is one, everybody's not going to believe it. But on the other hand, do you really want, I don't know if I want one brought forward or not because I enjoy the mystery of the subject or
Yeah.
the chasing or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I totally I agree with you on that. Yes. If they brought one forth, I mean, and like said it was real, there would be the biggest hunting party going out, everybody going out there, trying to go bag them a Bigfoot. It would be detrimental to them and the hunters, because I'm sure there'd be a lot of killed hunters as well.
Yeah, that would be a fiasco,
Yep.
I believe.
I mean, I think one day they will at least be acknowledged as being real, but kind of like how the whole like UFO disclosure's been going. I think it'll be something along those lines, but not actually like, you know, here's a body kind of thing. But even then, it would still be super dangerous for them to do that. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard going back to the question I had asked you about flesh and blood or woo can cloak and that kind of thing. I've had a couple of people even talk about orbs around sightings.
Seen one.
And oh, have you really?
Yeah, we saw one. We were doing a nighttime investigation, me and my buddy Joe, the one who's made the documentary, and he has his own YouTube channel. And that was like, I've known him for probably about 4 years now. And I knew that he had made documentaries like in Murfreesboro, Illinois. They had the big muddy monster sightings back in the
Right.
early 70s. And he made a documentary about that, and also a UFO documentary, which coincidentally, the event with the mass UFO sightings in Grand Tower, Illinois, and Grand Tower is not that far from Murfreesboro, and the big muddy monster and those UFO sightings were going on right about the same time.
Okay.
But
Was that, and that was early 70s, correct?
yeah, like 72, 73, something like that.
Yeah, I believe that's the same time, there was a lot of activity, Chestnut Ridge
Mhm,
in Pennsylvania.
mhm.
They were having a lot of UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings too,
Yeah.
like, going on for a couple of years in the early 70s.
Yeah, it was a weird time back then for that stuff.
That's interesting.
But yeah, so I knew, he was into it, and he had just started getting into doing, like, investigations and looking for it. So I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, look, this is what I've got going on out here. If you wanna come out and, investigate, come on out. We'll go take a look." And because I also knew that Joe had all the, fancy, expensive gadgets. So I
That
was
helps out.
but, he came out, and, we shot the, YouTube video because he asked if, we could do that for his channel. I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." So, he interviewed me in the field that I had my sighting, and, we did a daytime investigation. We found some more prints, and,
Okay.
they were 16 inches and 14, and the only reason that I say that these were Bigfoot prints is because you could still see the toes. It wasn't like, because like, we don't farm the land anymore, but we do rent out the land to farmers to farm on, and so, like, you'll see, like, their prints out there too, but it's always boots or shoes, like,
Sure.
it's not, I mean, and there's copperheads everywhere out there, so you're not gonna be walking around barefoot if you have a brain in your head. But, yeah, so he decided after he released that video, it did really well in views, so he decided he wanted to do a full-fledged documentary about it. So I was like, "All right, yeah, come on back out." So he's been out there. We've done probably about, I'd say between 6 to 8, um, investigations out there just this past year. Because this past year was, like, when I really started hitting it hard with looking into what was going on. Because my dad started telling me things. Um, he's heard whoops. After my grandpa passed away, dad started doing a lot of bonfires at night, and, he'd be sitting out there, and he would get whistled out, but he said it was like a really shrill whistle and last about, 5 to 10 seconds. And, I asked him because he said he's like, "It'll make the hair on your neck stand up when you hear that." I was like, "Well, what'd you do? Did you flash your flashlight over to see what it looked like?" And he was like, "No." I go,
Okay.
"Why not?" He goes, "I just kinda looked over my shoulder and then just kept looking at the fire." But that's what he does. Like, he'll never flash his flashlight to see what that noise was or ever, anything like that. He'll look over his shoulder and then just go back to looking at the fire. And I mean, he's had a lot of encounters, but it's always been on the audio end, not an actual sighting. Now the thing that he told me that was really wild to me was, see, like I said, there's that coal mine that was out there, and they built a train track to run to another set that runs down, going past the Shawnee. So whenever they were building that track, they cut it through the north end of our farm. And he says that every so often at night, you'll hear the train go by, but then about 15, 20 minutes later, he started hearing something mimicking a train whistle. And I got to thinking about it because I was like, "Well, how did it sound?" He's like, "It sounded," he's like, "It wasn't the train." He was like, "But it sounded like it was trying to be the train whistle, but it would end like, "." So I got to thinking about it, and I played the Ohio House for him. And he said it sounded a lot like that, just not as long. So,
Right.
I was like, "Wow, okay." And, like, seeing his face whenever he, like, first heard the sound, of the Ohio House, he was like, "Yeah." So, I mean, it was that was pretty cool. Being that confirmed it for me for him. And
Oh,
me
yeah.
and him both heard a whoop one night. We were I borrowed his lawnmower and I was bringing it back and unloading it, and he went to go get my kid's soccer ball. And just as he was walking away to do that, I was going to my car and just heard this whoop. And it came from like back over, there's a pond behind his house. It's about 400 yards from where we were standing at. And I mean, it was one of those, like, you heard it and you almost ignored it. You know what I mean? And then I was just like, wait a second. I was like, hey, Dad. I was like, did you hear that? He's like, yeah, I was waiting on you to ask me about that. He's like, I told you, man. He's like, I hear this stuff all the time out here. So it's pretty cool.
Have you got any audio recordings of any of the vocalizations?
We do. Joe has all that stuff because it was all his equipment. We got it on parabolic dish, and we got a little bit on this. I think it's called a boom mic. And yeah, we've got a lot of that. We've got a picture of an orb, and we've got pictures of tracks, of course, mimicry, because it was really weird. There's the night me, him, and his research partner Jason. We were out there investigating, and he calls it a disembodied voice. I call it mimicking. I mean, I guess it's kind of, same thing, but you heard just this, it just sounded like somebody just going, who, like that, like, 800-pound owl. But like, it wasn't even really trying. And it wasn't like there was, people out there, because there's nobody out there. And it wasn't my dad because he was on his tractor on the other end of the farm that day. So, I mean, that was weird. And then not long after that, like few minutes, heard this like creepy belly laugh coming from the woods. And that's the same area where the who was coming from. And it was just really weird, And like, I have heard reports and stuff, because I looked into it, and I guess there are reports out there of Bigfoot laughing. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it was, but it wasn't us, and it wasn't my dad, and those would have been the only people out there.
Right.
And then probably another 10 minutes after that, we heard a solid tree knock, and it didn't sound aggressive or nothing. I'm thinking it was more just like letting the others know, it was over there or something like that, or that we were over in that direction. I'm not really sure. But
Yeah.
the weird thing, that a different night. Okay, well, yeah, this would be the same day as my second sighting. Okay, so we'll get into my second sighting now. So my second sighting happened. It was late summer. I want to say late August. No, it wasn't late August. It was late September. And so we had been out there investigating and everything. And my wife, she's in the documentary because Joe wanted to talk to her, because my grandma told her some more stories, more things that I didn't even know about, of encounters that she had had out there, things she'd seen, just, a lot of spooky stuff. And he wanted to include that. So my dad had an area set up for us to have a bonfire on my 13 acres. There's this, like, not really a roadway. It was just the coal mine put in it, like a little access path. And they tried to dig a well, and then they didn't hit water, but they left a nice driveway for me. But so we were back there, and let's see, he had the fire pit going and all that stuff. But before we went back there to film that, me, Jason, Joe, and Joe's other friend, who was like his second cameraman, basically, his name's Russ. So we were all at the truck. Joe and Jason got in the front. Me and Russ were sitting on the tailgate. So Jason goes to pull out his truck, and whenever he pulls it out and he gets it straight in the road, me and Russ are facing down towards the creek, where it's top of the hill. Standing in the middle of the road is this very, very tall, slender build, solid black figure that looked exactly like what I'd seen the year before, staring right at us. And I mean, I see it, Russ sees it. I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you see that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is that a person? It's like, that's somebody down there. I was like, that's too tall to be a person. Even from that distance, you could tell that was way too tall to be a person. And it was kind of leaning over to its left a little bit. I think it was curious trying to figure out if we were going to be heading towards it or away from it. But like Joe and Jason got mad at me because we didn't hit the truck, say, hey, stop, there it is, anything like that, because like we were so caught up in the moment seeing it and like, back and forthing with each other that honestly it just didn't even cross our mind to be like, hey, stop. But yeah, it was just standing down there watching us. I didn't get a threatening feel from it or anything. Like I said, I almost more of a curiousness to it. But yeah, so they crested the hill, we lost sight of it, and we went over to do Amber's interview to that area. That's when we told them what happened. So yeah, so that keep that in mind. So that one's down there. Now then, give it 20 minutes from then, we've got the fire going in the fire pit, and there's a big brush pile like right behind the area that we were set up at because last winter we had a big ice storm and just all kinds of trees and tree branches fell over during that storm. And so Dad made a big brush pile back there of the ones in that area. So there's that. So Dad brings Amber up. She's sitting in the lawn chair, and Jason's got the lights all set up for it. Like I said, there's a fire going. Joe has got his camera, and he's kind of trying to get it all dialed in. And Russ, the other cameraman, he was just walking around with a smaller camera, just kind of getting B-roll footage. And I had the parabolic dish on. So I thought I heard footsteps behind us, and I was pretty sure it was bipedal, but it was so far away sounding. I wasn't for sure if maybe I was just hearing a deer kind of moving slowly. So I didn't really think much about it, but I should have. Because what happened was my wife's sitting there just chatting, everybody up, saying hi and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden she goes, okay, who just threw the stick? And we're all kind of looking at each other like, what? And like none of us threw a stick. And what was really good is Joe actually captured the stick hitting her on his camera whenever he was getting it all dialed in. He didn't realize it at the time, but whenever he went back reviewing that footage, you can actually see this stick. It wasn't a very big stick or anything. It was like a twig, but it comes in from the left at an angle and hits her on like just above her ankle. And yeah, wild. And that's going to be in the documentary too. But yeah, it was cool because I mean, well, it was cool now, but at the time she was freaking out. She was like, oh my God. She was like, nobody's messing with me. And we're like, no one's messing with you. No one threw a stick. And she was like, well, that just happened. And she was like, I hope somebody got it on camera. And yeah, it was pretty wild. But whenever that happened, I remembering hearing those footsteps way back. I took the parabolic dish and pointed it back that direction, and you actually could hear something running off on two legs running off. And I was like, holy crap. I was like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear it sneak up on us. I heard it way back there, but I didn't hear it get closer. And I don't know if maybe I just wasn't paying attention because I was listening to her, just chatting and everything. But yeah, that was wild because it also makes me think juvenile behavior because I wouldn't think the big one that we saw down there because it had that curious postureness to it. Like it was like afraid that we were coming towards it. So I don't think it would be all the way up there, right there with us. I think that there was a juvenile.
What's the topography of that particular area that you were in when that encounter happened?
Yeah, it's wooded mainly. There is a field, an open field that was right there. The field that I own, it's a 13-acre field right there. And then it's basically like Dad's house, woodline, field, woodline we were in, another open field, and then it goes that way for I don't know, like a mile before it hits the main road. It's not really a main road. It's just the mainest back road.
Right. So the one that you saw digging,
Mhm.
did it compare to the one that were just talking about as far as physical attributes?
The way it looked standing, whenever I saw it stand up, now granted, seeing it the second time, I was at a greater distance, but I think it was the same one or like its brother. You know what I mean? Because they were very similarly built.
As
And
the crow flies, how far apart were those two sightings?
a quarter mile.
Oh, so not far at all
Oh,
then.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Same area. It was right down there, like where it was standing at in the road, that field's right next to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, I mean, it was just in the middle of the road that I like whenever I had my sighting, it was standing where my car was. So it was only
Okay.
about 65 to 80 yards away from where I originally saw it. But yeah, right
Did you get
there,
any did you
awesome.
get any detail on the face, Bryce?
Couldn't tell from that far. It was I didn't see the face. The first time I saw it, I didn't see the face because whenever it was even thrashing, it would like turn like that. And I never saw the face. Now the head was big and rounded for the most part until it got to the top. It started to do that conical point, but it wasn't very pronounced. It was just kind of like a small, but I mean, maybe if I was closer and saw it, I might change my description on that, but from that distance, it didn't look very pronounced. You could tell it was there, but it wasn't like full on like Conehead, you know?
Have you heard any neighbors or anyone close by mention anything like that? Any activity?
Well, most people out there won't talk about that kind of stuff. My cousin, he's had some weird stuff going on that I would consider if it's Bigfoot stuff, it would be in the woo realm more so than physical stuff. Like, he has seen some red orbs out there a couple times in the like, right behind his house, in between his house and the, pond, and he got video of that too because he sent it to me, but, and he's heard where he's thought he's heard people out there, but, like, he cannot find anybody out there at all. Like, he'll have his spotlight and everything, have his gun with him and all that stuff, and they're like, "There's nobody out there," but he heard somebody out there, like, talking and whatnot.
And could he make out language, or did it just sound gibberish?
Gibberish, yeah, gibberish. I mean, honestly, he thought that maybe there was a meth head out there trying to find something to steal, you know, like they were tweaking or something. But no, there was nobody out there, but like you said, like the gibberish, that's how he described it. He's like, I couldn't make out what they were saying. He's like, but it sounded like a person talking out there.
Yeah, that's been reported several
Mhm.
times,
Yeah.
with you can't make out exactly what they're saying, but it sounds like a language almost.
If you go as the crow flies from him having that encounter to where we had those, like the who and the laugh, that's about a half a mile as the crow flies. Just basically
Mm.
cutting an area straight line through the farm.
There seems like there has been a lot of activity in that area.
Yeah.
And I know on the, BFRO website, Illinois has a lot of sightings,
Yeah.
a lot of reports.
Yeah, it's weird. I saw something, I mean, it was on Facebook, so take that for what it's worth. But it had Illinois listed in the top 5 for sightings in the country,
Uh,
which
I believe that's correct.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. That's if I'm ever up that way, I'm gonna have to check that out. Seems like a pretty good place to, do some investigations, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you're more than welcome to.
That's awesome.
So one of the things that I've learned about doing this out there is I listened to this Native American on a show. He was talking about if you want to have a encounter with a Bigfoot and a positive one, you know, to basically, I guess it's like do it the American Native American way, where you announce your presence, welcome them, call them forest brothers, let them know you come in peace, don't have any weapons on you because you don't want to send the wrong message. And yeah, pretty much that. And like ask for a sign of their presence or if they, you know, like accept your welcome and whatnot. So I did that. And it was whenever I was doing little more investigating, trying to find like pictures, like prints to take pictures of, things like that to send to Joe to add to that YouTube video he made. And I was out there in the field, I had my encounter. And I'm like, "Ah, I'm gonna try it." So I did it, and I was about 30 yards out into the field. The creek's to my right, and I'm walking along, and I come across some tracks. I wasn't as far up, you know, like where I have my sighting at. It wasn't those tracks. Plus, that had been a year by then. So I mean, those tracks were gone. But, I did find some, and I was taking pictures. I didn't measure them this time. I didn't have my tape measure with me, but I thought maybe that was the sign, you know? But not long after that, I start hearing this sound coming from over in the creek. And the only way I can describe it is like a belly growl was your voice and you were mumbling. Or so kind of like sound like a warble, you know what I mean? But I heard that for like, I don't know, felt like 10 minutes, but it may have not been that long. But I'm sitting there like I'm taking pictures of the prints and I'm hearing that and I'm like, okay, like that's weird. And I mean, at first I'm thinking, okay, because I always try to like debunk stuff before I'll go with like the Bigfoot or whatever. I always try to debunk things first. So first thing I'm thinking, okay, you know, it's not a dirt bike off in the distance because I can tell it's coming from the creek right there. And I'm like, okay, so that's not good. I was like, that means it's close. But I wasn't freaking out either. Like I was shocked to hear it, but I wasn't feeling like I was in danger at all. And like I've talked with a couple Native Americans, told them what I did and what happened and all that. And they said that with it just, making that noise, like talking to me, I guess, they think and seems to be that like they accepted the invitation and all that. And I don't know, just letting me know, yeah, I'm over here kind of thing. I didn't try going towards it, but I did hear it. But like I said, whenever that ice storm happened, all those tree branches along that wood line were just, sitting down like this. So it could have been standing right there and I wouldn't have seen it.
Did the prints look fresh?
The prints looked kind of old, probably about a week. Because the prints I found in 2023, those 18-inch ones, those were about 2, maybe 3 days old. Because Von Strickler, who was on your show before, I actually sent those pictures to him to see what he thought,
Okay.
and he said that's big, and he said that he didn't know of any Bigfoot reports in Illinois. But whenever he looked at it, he said the prints looked about 2 or 3 days old to him as well. But
Okay.
I'm like, "You never heard of the Big Muddy Monster?" Like, I guess down here, it's like everybody knows about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
and taking that with that being the Big Muddy Monster, I started calling the Bigfoot out on the farm the Pond Creek Monster because that's the name of the creek that runs through. It's called Pond Creek.
Okay. Were the toes prevalent?
Yeah, yeah, not good enough for a good clear picture of them, but like if you're standing there looking at them, you could see. Now, those ones that were about a week old, you really had to look hard to make them out, but you could find them. It was just
Right.
because they'd been, they were old and everything. It was just a little harder to see. But yeah, every time I found prints, if it's a full print, the toes are there. I mean, you just got to look for them. Joe and Jason, one of the investigations, whenever we were out there, I had to leave early that night because I had to work the next morning. And they were on these electric bikes and they were riding on different areas of the farm and everything. And they came across this spot. If I remember correctly, it was the same place that we took the picture of the orb. But there was this like 20 yards long, just, stretch of grass. And you could tell something big had been walking in it. And he was like, there was massive footprints in this. He was like, nothing you could really get a picture of that you could tell in the picture. He was like, but if you're there looking at it, he was like, you could see it. And they said it led for, like I said, it was like a 20-yard stretch of grass and about 15 yards of it. Those prints were there, and then they just turned into the woods.
Okay.
So yeah,
Was it near a game trail or near a creek
right there
or?
by the creek and the train track area.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe they're hanging out under like the bridge part for the train or what, but or maybe because like we own the other on the other end of those tracks, so they hilled it up whenever they built the train track. So we own the other side of that too. And I mean, no one would be able to see anybody on the other side of those tracks because you can't from the road. And the other back road that goes along over on that end of the farm, even still yet, you can't see that part of the woods and that part of the field and all that. So I mean, it's a perfect hiding spot for them.
Right. Bryce, that's some incredible stories you've got and evidence too. I'd love to see some of the pictures of the prints at some time if you could get a chance.
I'll get them dug up. I got them on my SD card, so I'll go through the SD cards and find it, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Is there anything you want to plug on the documentary?
Sure. Um, okay, so on Joe's channel, it's called Red Room Films, Monsters and Legends, I think. He's gonna kill me. I never get it right. But if you just go to YouTube and search the Pond Creek Monster, and it'll be the first one that pops up, and just look for like the little like where it says Red Room Films. That's the one that we did out there on the farm. And now since then, like even just in this podcast today, I've said a lot more than what's on that because all that stuff hadn't happened yet.
Okay. I'll put a link in the description for the Red Room films, and you send me any other information that you'd like,
Okay.
and make sure the viewers, can check it out and see what's going on and keep up
Yeah, sounds good.
with
Sounds
everything.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Typically, Bryce, at the end of each podcast, we do a rapid fire Q&A
Okay.
where we'll do 3 questions, and it's casual, so it's the first thing that really comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. All right. Number 1, what is your favorite college or pro football team?
Bears, Chicago Bears.
Chicago. Okay. Yeah.
I don't live near Chicago. Just because I say I'm from Southern Illinois, everybody automatically wants to say Chicago.
You're in the southern part now.
Yeah,
Let's see.
he
Who's the
was
quarterback there now? Who?
Caleb Williams.
That's right. Caleb Williams. Yeah. He came from USC, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good quarterback.
Yeah.
Number 2, favorite Bigfoot TV show, past or present?
Okay, so yeah, Monster Quest is what I would go with because they did a lot of Bigfoot episodes on that. If we go strictly Bigfoot, then Expedition Bigfoot.
Okay. That's 2 good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed those as well. Last one, number 3, favorite movie?
The Crow, the original one.
The original one. Okay. I'm trying to think what year that came out.
90. Yeah, I want to say I was 9 years old when it came out. But yeah, that ever since I was 9 years old, that's been my favorite movie.
Uh, who starred in that?
Brandon Lee.
Brendan Lee.
Yeah, he actually
Yes.
died during the filming because they had a real bullet inside one of the guns.
That was his family's history was really strange.
Yeah, Bruce Lee, that was too crazy. Too
Yeah, I
crazy.
saw on Instagram Bruce Lee the other day.
Mhm.
They were demonstrating a bow and arrow at him, and he caught the arrow.
Dang.
And they were fairly close to him too. It was insane.
Wow.
It was not a compound bow, of course. It was
Yeah.
like a recurve,
Yeah.
but still, it was not edited. You could tell it was
Yeah.
old film. So, Bryce, I appreciate you coming on the show, taking the time out of your schedule to join us.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and maybe we can do a part 2. Just anything pops up, let me know, and
Yeah,
we
sure
can do
will.
this again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
got a GoPro on the way and a gimbal. I'm going to do the Scott Carpenter method this time with my investigating out there on the farm, and we'll see what happens.
yeah. Awesome. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce, thank you again. And for the listeners, if you've had an encounter or an experience or something strange, shoot us an email with your contact information at the Cryptid Crew Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless.